I'll vote for this because we should support compelling Iraq to make good on its obligations to the United Nations. I'm among those who had serious reservations about and flat-out straight opposition to the first draft proposed by the White House on September 19th. The draft raised more questions than it answered. It was not clear whether the authorization requested by the President to use force was limited to Iraq or applicable to the region as a whole. It was not clear whether the objective was to compel Iraq to destroy its weapons of mass destruction programs, to liberate Kuwaiti prisoners, or to end Saddam Hussein's regime. It was not clear whether the rationale for action was to enforce the UN Security Council resolutions that Saddam has flouted for the last decade, or to implement a new doctrine of preemption. And it was not clear whether the administration considered working through the UN and working with allies important or irrelevant. Saddam is dangerous. The world would be a better place without him. But the reason he poses a growing danger to the United States and its allies is that he possesses chemical and biological weapons and is seeking, with his $2 billion a year illegally skimmed from the UN Fund for Food, his Oil for Food program, for Peace program, that he is seeking nuclear weapons. And for years now, he has prevented the United Nations inspectors from uncovering those weapons and verifying Iraq's disarmament. And he is in violation of the terms he agreed to, allowing him to stay in power. The second draft, negotiated with congressional leadership, and I would say, I believe in part as a consequence of the efforts of my good friend Senator Lugar and I, and roughly 23 or 24 Republicans, got the attention of the administration. They were simultaneously negotiating with the senator from Indiana and me, as well as the leader in the House. The leader in the House reached an agreement first. I thought that was unfortunate because I believe we could have had a better resolution had that not occurred. But nonetheless, the second draft negotiated addressed some of these questions but left others unanswered. Along with many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, notably Senator Lugar, I continue to seek greater clarity about the focus of the proposed resolution. President Bush brought the resolution into sharper focus this week in his speech to the nation. He said that, quote, war is neither imminent nor inevitable. He also said that his objective was to disarm Iraq, that his rationale to enforce the United Nations resolution was not based upon preemption, and that he desired to lead the world, and if war was necessary, it would be with allies at our side. Mr. President, the resolution now before the Congress similarly is clearer and more focused than previous drafts. It is not perfect, but it acknowledges the core concerns that Senator Lugar and I and others raised, and which have been raised by such senators as Hagel and Specter and many others. Considered in the context of the President's speech this week and his address last month to the United Nations General Assembly, this resolution, though still imperfect, deserves our support, and let me explain why. First, the objective is more clearly and carefully stated. The objective is to compel Iraq to destroy its illegal weapons of mass destruction and its programs to develop and produce missiles and more of those weapons. President Bush did not lash out precipitously at Iraq after 9/11. He did not snub the UN or our allies. He did not dismiss new inspection regimes. He did not ignore Congress. At each pivotal moment, he has chosen a course of moderation and deliberation, and I believe he will continue to do so. At least that is my fervent hope. I wish he would turn down the rhetorical excess in some cases, because I think it undercuts the decision he ends up making. But in each case, in my view, he has made the right, rational, and calm, deliberate decision. Wrote recently in the New York Times the following: Iraq and al-Qaeda are not obvious allies. In fact, they are natural enemies. To contemporary jihadist, Saddam Hussein is another in the line of dangerous secularist, an enemy of the faith. Saddam Hussein has a long record that al-Qaeda and like-minded Islamicists Saddam Hussein has a long has long recognized that al-Qaeda and like-minded Islamicists represent a threat to his regime. Consequently,